In the last lecture, we studied the concept of production possibility curve or product transformation curve, in which we drew a graph related to shifting from one line of production to another. Now we are going to look at something very important in the field of economics, and it is like the basic foundation of economics. These are the supply and demand curves. Okay. We discussed that we had consumers and we have producers. Producers वो लोग होते हैं जो कोई चीज़ बनाते हैं, और consumers वो होते हैं जो खरीद रहे होते हैं. So consumers are basically people who are using the product, and producers are the people who are manufacturing the product or service. So when we talk about the supply curve, we are talking about the producer end, because they supply products or service. This curve has a little different convention as compared to other curves. In other types of curves or other types of graphs, we have independent variable on the x-axis and dependent variable on the y-axis. But just some convention of economics and specifically supply and demand curves, that in this concept we have the independent variable on x-axis, and independent variable will always be the price, and on the y-axis we have the independent variable on the y-axis, which is the price, and we have dependent variable, which is the quantity, on the x-axis. And in case of supply curve, it will be quantity supplied. So let's look at this in terms of an example. ये एक कर्व दिखाया हुआ है, एक सप्लाई कर्व S, जिसमें बताया गया है कि when price increases, when there's an increase in price, there is an increase in quantity supplied. So if the price of a product in the market increases, the producer will try to manufacture more of the product and try to supply more of the product in the market so that he gets more profit. The higher the price, the more firms are able and willing to produce. So उनको ज़्यादा फायदा हो रहा होगा, ज़्यादा प्राइस पे बेचने का प्रोड्यूसर्स को ज़्यादा फायदा हो रहा है. इसलिए हमारा सप्लाई कर्व हमेशा पॉजिटिव होता है. It has a positive gradient. जैसे जैसे प्राइस बढ़ेगी, क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड इंक्रीज होगी, एंड हम ये कहते हैं कि all the other factors are constant. सिर्फ प्राइस चेंज हो रही है, बाकी फैक्टर्स कांस्टेंट हैं, तो आपकी अलोंग द कर्व मूवमेंट जो है वो पॉजिटिव डायरेक्शन में होती है. और ये इसका एक्सप्रेशन लिखा हुआ है, क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड इज अ फंक्शन ऑफ प्राइस. क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन प्राइस. प्राइस कम होगी तो वो क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड कम कर लेंगे. अब आपको पता है कि जब पेट्रोल महंगा होता है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अनाउंसमेंट आए कि जी अगले दिन से यानी कल से पेट्रोल महंगा हो जाएगा, तो क्या करते हैं प्रोड्यूसर्स, आज के दिन की सप्लाई रोक देते हैं, कहते हैं जी खत्म हो गया पेट्रोल, बिकॉज दे डोंट वांट टू सेल इन द लोअर प्राइस, दे वांट टू सेल मोर ऑफ द पेट्रोल एट अ हायर प्राइस. अच्छा, उसके अलावा हमारा कर्व जो है वो शिफ्ट भी कर जाता है. अगर प्राइस के अलावा कोई और फैक्टर चेंज हो रहा हो तो हमारा कर्व शिफ्ट करता है. वो शिफ्ट किन केसेस में करता है, लेट्स हैव अ लुक. चेंजेस इन द स्टेट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी. सो अगर टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास इम्प्रूव्ड आ जाती है, टेक्नोलॉजी बेहतर हो जाती है, कंप्यूटर एडेड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, रोबोट्स यूज कर रहे हैं हम मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए, तो ऑब्वियसली हम सप्लाई ज्यादा कर सकते हैं. तो सप्लाई जब ज्यादा होगी तो आपका कर्व शिफ्ट कर जाएगा टूवर्ड्स राइट, यानी ये एस डैश बन जाएगा। टेक्नोलॉजी इंप्रूव की है, इसलिए प्रोड्यूसर ज्यादा प्रोड्यूस कर सकता है और हमारी प्रोड्यूस क्वांटिटी बढ़ गई। चेंजेस इन प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट, अगर प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट कम हो रही होगी तो उतने ही पैसों में सप्लायर्स जो है वो ज्यादा प्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं, तो कर्व राइट पे शिफ्ट हो जाएगा। और अगर प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट महंगी हो गई है, इफ प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट इंक्रीजेस, देन आवर कर्व इज गोइंग टू शिफ्ट टुवर्ड्स लेफ्ट। If the raw material or the labor or any of the factors of production get more expensive, your curve is going to shift towards left. Then we have changes in the market size or number of sellers. We're talking about the market of a particular product. So, for example, talking about the market of mobile phones. So if more sellers enter into that market, then the quantity supplied is going to increase, the curve will shift towards right. And if, due to some reasons, some of the suppliers leave the market and we have less number of suppliers, less number of producers, so the curve is going to shift towards left. Changes in government policy. So government policy also affects production. For example, sometimes government gives subsidies on certain industries, like subsidy for gas. The government gives them gas at lower prices or something like that. So the supplier or the producer can manufacture more of the quantity. In that case, if a government provides incentives, again your curve is going to shift towards right, because the quantity supplied will increase. But if the government imposes extra taxation on some industry, like government imposes extra taxation on the import industry, excise duties, so their quantity of production is going to decrease and the curve is going to shift towards left. Now we have on the other end the demand curve. In the demand curve, we have the same independent variable, which is the price. In both the curves, supply and demand, the independent variable is going to remain same, which is the price. But in the demand curve, we have the independent variable price and we have the dependent variable quantity demanded, QD. So this is the demand curve. Now the demand curve has a negative gradient, it has a negative slope, because if a price increases, people are going to buy less quantity of that product. कोई चीज महंगी होती है तो हम उसको कम खरीदते हैं, हमारी उसको खरीदने की जो सलाहियत है, हमारी अफोर्डेबिलिटी जो है वो कम हो जाती है जब चीज महंगी हो जाती है. Our buying power decreases when the price of a product or service increases. Hence, consumers will buy more of a product as its price declines. और price कम होगी तो हम ज़्यादा खरीदेंगे. So this is a negative relationship. So we can see quantity demanded is equal to quantity is a function of price. तो quantity demanded भी price के ऊपर depend करती है. और कर्व डिमांड कर्व भी उसी सिचुएशन में शिफ्ट होगा जब प्राइस के अलावा कोई और चेंज आएगा. तो क्या चेंजेस हो सकते हैं? लेट्स हैव अ लुक. Changes in income of consumers. So if I'm a consumer and if my income increases, then I have more buying power, I have more disposable income, and I can buy more of a product. That's why the curve is going to shift towards right. Quantity demanded increases, shifting the curve towards right, when income increases, and when income decreases, the curve is going to shift towards left. People will be able to buy less quantity of product because their income has become lower and they have less buying power, they have less disposable income. Changes in taste or preference of consumers. So if our taste changes, for example, there's a person who used to like drinking tea, but maybe he tried coffee and he switched to coffee. So he left tea and he started drinking coffee. So our taste or preference has changed. So in that case, the curve for tea is going to shift towards left, quantity demanded will be less, and the curve for coffee is going to shift towards right because the demand for coffee is going to increase. Changes in the market size, number of buyers. This point is somehow similar to your supply curve. If more buyers enter into the market, quantity demanded is going to increase. For example, the population of an area increases because of migration, then the quantity demanded is going to increase. And if the population of an area decreases, maybe because of a pandemic, people die, then quantity demanded is going to decrease and the curve is going to shift towards left. Changes in the price of related goods. Now, there are two types of related goods. We are going to look at this in the next slide. Substitutes and complements. So substitutes, two goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to an increase in the quantity demanded of other. For example, coffee is a substitute for tea and tea is a substitute for coffee. If we assume this, if coffee price increases, what will happen? People will stop drinking coffee and they will shift towards tea. So with the increase in price of coffee, the quantity demanded for tea is going to increase and the graph of tea will shift towards right. This proves the statement increase in the price of one leads to an increase in the quantity demanded of other. This is in the case of substitutes. If we look at the other types of related goods, these are complements. Complements are such things which are always used together, and if one product is not available, the other product will also not be used. So let's assume that tea and biscuits are complements to each other. If I have to eat biscuits, I must have tea with it. If I have to drink tea, I must have biscuits with it. So what happens in the case of complements? Two goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to a decrease in the quantity demanded of other. For example, tea price increases, people will stop drinking tea, the quantity demanded for tea is going to decrease, and when they will leave tea, they will also leave biscuits. So the quantity demanded for biscuits is also going to decrease. And that's how the increase in price of one product is going to lead to a decrease in the quantity demanded of the other product. For this example, the shifts, how the demand curve is going to behave, we will study in the class. We will draw the graphs and then we will draw the changes that are going to occur because of these increase or decrease in price.